Welcome to Mystic Moon Cafe.
You're listening to Mystic Moon Cafe. The views and opinions expressed by guests do not necessarily reflect those of the hosts, the network, or our sponsors.
Cool.
Ooh,
It's all official now.
Wow.
Yep.
That was like, she just disappeared.
Yes.
I'm
It's her
back.
mutant power. It's her mutant power. When are you gonna kick us off? Because I got to fiddle with Facebook once once I get this. Like literally, when I press the button, go live, we're live. Okay. Okay. So I'll give us a countdown. Wendy, you know what you want to talk about?
Not really, but we'll begin.
Okay, we'll just go with it. Let's roll. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good evening, everyone. Here we are, a candlelight and cocktails hour, 2 hours with a couple of wonderful returning guests. We've got Bryan Bowden and Al Santariga, and I hope that Miss Aida can get in. I sent her the direct link, so
Okay.
as soon
I'll
as
get it.
Facebook begins, we will be good to go there. Mystic Moon Cafe, I hope you were looking for us and found us this way. I hope you were looking for somebody else and found us. And, but we're beginning our kind of tales of terror and Halloweeny tales, and you know, whatever else comes along, because that's how we roll here. Guys, thank you for returning tonight. Good to see you.
Good to see
Good
you.
to be here.
Yep.
Mhm. We got Jake in the background. He's doing technical stuff.
I'm trying to
he's
get
our
this
technomancer.
I'm trying to get this bus on the Facebook road.
Yeah.
But anyway, we've got so much fun. All right, this meeting is being live streamed.
Oh, wow. It's all
That's
official
right.
now.
The man has come over with a big old dialogue box and says everything you say will be held against you in a court of law.
That's okay. I can make this disappear.
That's great.
Mhm,
I have it to
mhm.
my left. So if I look over there and I see someone, like, I don't know if they chime in or not, but
Okay.
so
Okay.
I'm still here. I just, I have to have
Yeah.
more than one camera, right, Al?
No, just a wide angle lens will do.
Hey, Al, the camera adds to the 50 to 100 pounds.
Yes, you're absolutely right. The camera adds 2 pounds. Yes.
Yes, it does. Yes. Well, we were discussing some fun and not so good doggy things earlier, and
Yes.
I wanted to rebut a bit with Bryan there. I'm not quite 5 foot tall anymore, and my dog is easily 6 foot tall when he stands. Well, he can't stand
Yep.
up anymore. He's older. He's 12 years old and has some knee issues, but he's a dire wolf / German Shepherd / sweetie
sweet.
pie.
Slash
Beautiful.
Fenris.
Absolutely
Fenris.
beautiful.
Yeah. No, I remember I would come home first and he'd come out, do the stretch thing. And then I go, how was your day? And he'd just jump up, put his shoulders up there and just give me kisses. And then we'd go out. And,
Mhm.
whereas now with my kids, they come home, they're like, I hate you. Like, I'm leaving now.
I never
Talk
did
about
the-
horror stories.
Exactly. But let me see. Looks like I've got something out of date. Sorry. How would you all like to start off this evening?
Yeah, no problem.
Mhm.
I mean, we're talking about scary stuff and
Mhm.
real life things, and one of the things that I know Al and I like, we have a lot of different experiences together as well as apart.
Mhm.
And if you don't mind, Al, I'll just jump in because it'll just be easier that way.
Go for it, Brian.
I got 2 good ones, I think. So I was fortunate enough growing up that my mother was a teacher, and she worked in a sleepaway camp, and she was the head counselor of the sleepaway camp for years, and because of that, we were able to go to sleepaway camp for free. So I basically was born and raised in this camp in northwestern part of Connecticut. And growing up, all you hear when you go to sleepaway camp is the Cropsy maniac story, this crazy doctor that comes in and works near camps and is going to kill you. That's basically the gist of it. We'd have campfires and they tell you about Cropsy maniac. And there is actually a Cropsy, I forgot the first name, but there was a Dr. Cropsy, and I think it was loosely based on a story. He may have gone a little bit crazy and started killing people instead of treating them. So these stories were very effective, and it usually ended with some of the counselors coming out with a big hook, grabbing one of the kids, scaring the crap out of everybody. Like all these kids are like, oh my god, and as you get older and you start moving from a camper to a working position as a counselor, I was wise enough to know it's not a real story. But I used it on my kids when I was a counselor for camp. And it just so happened that across the street from where my camp is in the woods was an abandoned foundation. So I said, you know what? We're going to use that as the Cropsy House. I didn't tell anybody else. I'm like, that's the Cropsy House. And I started, I told one of the counselors to go there and like, you go and you hide in the woods. We'll bring the kids in there. I'll bring them in there, tell them about the crop stuff, and you just come out, scare the crap out of them. So it was a great plan. What's better than sending your kids to camp for $8,000 and then needing about $50,000 worth of, psychological bills? Why Billy doesn't sleep with the lights off anymore? Well, so I'm telling these stories. I'm working up the like the first week, second week we do the flashlight, and they're like, ooh, you have a couple of kids coming to you like, is this a real story? I'm like, yeah, it is. It's real. This happens all the time. Bodies go missing from camps, lose people. There's several camps in the neighborhood that have reported, that kids went missing and they never found them again. And they're saying it's the Cropsy maniac. And so we walked over and, we're doing this for a while. And about like the third week of camp, I really got him going. I said, okay, cool. This is what we're going to do. Let one of the counselors into it. He was like, yeah, I'm on board. I'll scare anybody, He went into the woods across the street. And I bring these kids in and we start walking in the woods. I said, got to be very quiet. And we're walking, for, I don't know, about a quarter of a mile. And I said, this is Cropsy's house. And when they found out that he was doing it, they burnt it to the ground and he escaped, but they never found him. And I'm giving him this story. And what was really odd is one of the kids goes, ew, what's this? Thinking it was, something stuck to him. And I'm like, oh, it's probably like, dew or moss or something from what do you call it, like an animal or whatever, like scat. So I walk over to him and it has this like tackiness to it, like it could be sap, but there was a reddish like ironish tint. And I'm like, I start looking at it, I'm like, in my head I'm like, holy crap, this is real blood. So yeah, I'm like, what the heck's going on? And the other kid goes, yeah, there's stuff. Look, there's blood over there. And inside the foundation, and inside the crushed part of the house, there's blood in the house. And I kind of called, well, the counselor was supposed to be here. So I call him out and I'm like, hey, we got to go. And he's like, oh, I went ahead. I'm like, oh, okay. It scared the hell out of me because, there was no bodies, there's no like deer, there's no hunting in the area, and this is like a significant amount of blood. And I'm like, what the heck's going on? And I got back to the camp and I just kept it quiet. And as I would go into town at night, I was friendly with a couple of the constables in this town. And I was asked, by them, like, you notice anything strange up there in the camp? No, nothing strange. What are you talking about? He goes, yeah, we got reports of a missing person, and we found some stuff over near the camp. We're wondering if you've seen anybody, And from that day forward, I never started talking about Cropsy ever again. But I did find out later on that it was a child that went missing, and they, to this day, they do not know what happened to the child. They never found the body. They did find a lot of blood and body parts, which they attributed to him. So this is my life. You know,
Wow.
that's a pretty, you know, and I still think about it, you know. My kids come back and they're like, you ever hear of Cropsy? And for a split second, I'm like, what do they know? You know,
Right.
it's like, oh, but it's, you know what, that moment really unnerves me, because what went out as a joke was now becoming reality. And something very strange, this past summer in a camp not too far from my camp, and it was a press release. A couple of kids went in the woods and they found the skeletal remains of a human in the woods.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
So, you know, and in the back of my head, you know, ooh, Cropsy lives, you know. So it's pretty interesting. They still don't know what happened to that body, but, and it's not that far from my camp, my summer camp, literally down the road.
So for geography lesson, you guys are in New York. Was Cropsy Staten Island, or was he upstate?
I think, well, I think there was an original Cropsy. I don't, there's a Cropsy House in Westchester, a little bit out of New York City. And it's called the Cropsy House. And every time I pass the sign, because it's a tourist attraction, I'm like, what the heck are they showing these people up there? You know, what are they going to show them? Bodies on hooks? But I don't know if that's the same Cropsy. I think someone just took that. But I know there was a real Dr. Cropsy, but I just can't put my finger on where he was located. I want to think Massachusetts, actually.
Okay.
But I don't know if that's the, you know, the case.
Very good story.
It's on borderlines on a little bit of a realism. I'm sure Al has a couple of doozies.
Hey, Bryan, why don't you tell him the name of the camp or the lake that's right next door to yours?
Okay, I'll let him. I don't want. Well, my daughters go to this camp. It's a great camp. I love the camp. We go up there. You know, a lot of the alumni go up and have alumni there. It's a wonderful camp. So I don't want to ruin this camp.
We'll just call it Camp Blood. Camp Blood.
Well, well, we're getting on that same path right there. Okay. So I remember many moons ago, we got to hang out from like April till September in camp, because my mother was, you know, head counselor. She was treated like family up there. I mean, the owner treated her like another daughter. So I mean, it was wonderful. And I remember standing in the parking lot, and these couple of these cars roll up, and these guys get out of the cars, and they don't look like anybody from New England, not at all. They had tans on. They looked like, you know, a little bit more high end than you would normally see in town. And they get out, and there's a reservoir right next to my camp. They're movie people. And they approach and, hey, we're with this movie. They hand the cards up. You see one of the production companies, like the big names. I forgot which one it was. You know, 20th Century Fox or something like that. And they go, you know, we'd like to rent the camp. We want to film a movie here. We're, you know, and she's like, oh, that's interesting, because, you know, there's a lot of money to be made in, you know, using your property for movies and stuff. And we're doing a horror film in a summer camp. It's called Friday the 13th.
I was going to bring that up.
Well, I'll let you know a little secret. The name of the reservoir that literally butts up against my camp is Crystal Lake. So
wow,
there you have it.
Because the weird thing is when that, I mean, you know, I saw it on cable and everything. I'm just like, this is by New York, because it's New Jersey, like up, you know, central New Jersey is where Camp Crystal Lake is supposed to be. Friday the 13th is supposed to take there. And I was like, how come no one sounds like they're from Queens? What's going on here?
Well, it's funny. So when they missed, you know, the owners of the camp said no, they didn't want the bed, then they're going to press. I would have taken them, you know, say, sure, you just have to repair everything, put new bunks up. It would have been a win for me. They went not that far away from us, down Route 7, you know, heading a little bit more south to a place. And I believe it was either Kent or Kenmont is where they actually filmed the movie. So it was filmed within the area, but and one night we were going to meet some friends over from that camp. Rainy night, fog. I borrowed my brother's car. Yeah, it's loaded up. There was like a couple of girls in it, like 2 other guys, and a foreign count, like a council from England, and we get stuck on the road in the dark. The fan belt goes, and I'm like, holy crap, this is the start of every horror film.
Yep.
Just shaking my head. I'm like, I can't buy a brick. Yeah.
That's Sullivan County. That's kind of Appalachia, people. I'm joking.
Give
me crap. You could give me crap. You know, I'm West Coast, you know.
Nah.
I'm not that far up. So
I had never heard of Sullivan. I know about Rockland and Westchester. I don't know any of the other ones, but
yeah, Sullivan is up in the Catskill Mountain Range. Yeah. So yeah.
It gets a little weird up there though.
Oh, it's Appalachia Light. Okay.
Appalachia.
Appalachia.
Appalachia. Don't come for me, West Virginia. Don't. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that was good though with the lake.
You hear banjo music? What?
Squeal for me, boy. No, we're not
really pig farming up there. Don't come for me, Sullivan County. Don't come for me.
Oh my God.
Sullivan County, yeah. No, I know a couple people from Sullivan County.
Yeah,
you know,
we know people from Sullivan. Yeah,
we all love you, Sullivan County. Just don't take that.
Send the hate mail too.
I don't give a rat's ass at gmail.com.
Okay.
Oh, you have the same address.
Oh, you do? Right.
I have it too. Look, I got to be honest. You know, lifelong New Yorker, and I don't like going left of Albany. It's it just becomes crazy town over there. It's just so much land and so many. It's odd. Not as bad as Pennsylvania. Yeah, I'm gonna go into Pennsylvania.
It's beautiful country, especially it's beautiful country in the summer when you're going to the lakes, and it's beautiful country in the winter when you're skiing the mountains up there. You know what I mean? It is beautiful country. Yeah. I wouldn't want to live there 24/7, but it's nice to visit. Absolutely.
It's there's a whole community in middle part of New York State, I think it is. That it's a whole witch community.
Oh,
everybody there is a witch, practice witchcraft or Wiccan or whatever it is, and they have a festival.
Talking about
the name of that.
Allendale.
I may be Allendale.
Yeah, it's Allendale. That's what you're talking about.
I'm doing the search. Sure. It's in Hudson Valley.
Chandler.
Ooh, yeah.
Where is
Athens? Is that?
No,
it's a witch house. It's a known witch house. Moving on.
Oh, it's a known witch house. Oh,
moving on.
Yeah,
what's in St. Lawrence County?
We have some weird counties up there.
Okay.
As long as you don't have like 2 little kids named Hansel and Gretel come by, you're fine.
Tell the kids, don't eat the food. It's gonna smell real good. Don't eat that food.
You may want to take you
to the McDonald's.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't want to go trick or treat in that town, okay? Totally different meaning. But yeah, no, we got some weird stuff there. I got one more if you don't mind. I don't want to
go for it.
Out because I think Al has
go for it.
Al,
we're gonna be here for 2 hours. Talk.
Oh well, if that's the case, smoke them if you got it. This didn't happen to me. It happened to a friend of mine, and my friend told me this, and it's really funny. My buddy that told me this, we cut class for the first time in 6th grade together, and on that day, it was in May. I forgot the day. We created Monster Day, where it's honoring all monsters. I got to remember the date. I have it written down sometime. But his father, really nice guy, very straightforward. But he overheard this conversation with his father and mother talking, and because there was a little panic in both of their voices, and he was being curious. So his father would go to sleep, and he started having a dream where he'd wake up in the dream and he was being chased by this hideous monster. I mean, the way it was later on in life described to him was, it was like grotesque in the face with fangs and long arms, and it may have even had horns on its head, and it kept chasing him and chasing him and chasing him. And he was very scared of this. But for some reason, when he went into, he would run into a bathroom in his house and look in the mirror, and he'd see his reflection, and it would all stop. So he'd go back to bed. And then, this was happening for a couple of days. He'd get up, he's being chased by this monster, and he's running, trying to, almost getting caught, but slipping away. The monster's like growling at him, going for him. He gets to the bathroom, he looks in the mirror, and boom, it's over. He's up, he wakes up for a second, he goes back to sleep, it's done. Well, this is going on for a period of almost a month. And so monster comes back again, interrupting his sleep. And he runs and he runs and he runs, and he goes to the bathroom just like clockwork, looks in the mirror and wakes up and sits up in his bed. And while he's sitting there in a pitch black room with his wife right next to him, he feels someone touch his shoulder. And he hears the following: "Don't turn around." He sits in his bed. He urinates in his bed. And he did not turn around for hours. He's trying to wake up his wife. And eventually his wife wakes up and goes, "What's wrong with you?" And he goes, "What's behind me? What's behind me?" Freaked out. She freaked her out. They had to get up. And he explained everything to her. And to this day, we're talking about a man who's like 45 years old, no problems, nothing, urinating in his bed because something physically touched him in his bed and told him not to turn around. And from that point forward, I was like, I'm not going back over to your house, dude. Your dad has a serious problem. And that was pretty scary. I've had a couple experiences, and I don't know if any of the people in the audience have, where you're having such an intense dream. You wake up, and for a couple of seconds thereafter, it still continues, and you're like, and you look around just to figure out if it's taking place. It's very unnerving, and I'll tell you, it's very scary because anything that happens within the walls of your home, okay, which is your castle and your sacred place, that will blow your mind right off the bat. That's when you salt. Why are you burning sage at 4 a.m? Just trust me, we need this right now. Where's the salt? I don't know.
Where's the anointing oil? Thank you very much.
Yeah.
On your way to the 7-Eleven, pick some up.
I told you to pick up frankincense and myrrh. Damn.
Did Wendy said, "Does any of her demon be gone?" Say incense. Yeah.
Well, we were doing something. Al, you can chime in on this one. We were looking at one investigation of a 28,000 acre facility called Letchworth Village. Some people may have heard of it, not. And while we were there, one of the guys told us, who used to be in the Air Force, I believe, he said, there are Air Force tunnels in Rockland County. We can go look at them. And we're like, oh, yeah, that would be a cool adventure, whatever. And later that night or the next day or whatever, Al gets a phone call. What did she say to you? What are you guys doing?
Psychic called me up and she says, where the hell did you guys go? Or what the hell are you guys doing? And I was like, why? And she says, I had something come to my house and attack me in my sleep. And she was explaining to me what it looked like. So I said, it sounds like a Wendigo. And she's like, and she's Native American, and they don't speak about Wendigos or the Skinwalkers. So she really didn't know what they was. So I sent her a photograph of it, and she said, yes, this is what attacked me in my dream. And I said, well, we were going to go to these ammunition depots that are built into the mountains of the Ramapo Mountains, where the Ramapo Indians once lived. And she said, well, don't go because there's this thing lives in there. A lot of people have done like dark and evil stuff in there, and this thing lives there. And these mountains are all connected through tunnels. And she said, do me a favor, please don't go. And so I said, listen, if you don't want us going there, consider it done. And we never went there. And, we had one guy on the team that was just dying to go. And every year he would bring it up. Hey, why don't we do this? Why don't we do this? And I'll tell you what, he was wearing me down at one point. I almost gave in to him at one point. And then he had like family issues and he had to leave the team. And I was like, oh, thank God, because, he was kind of breaking me down, like, oh, let's go. But, when our psychic tells us not to go someplace, because there's something dark and demonic there, which is above our pay grade, we don't go.
Yeah. But besides that, you missed the fact that, what he didn't tell you was she was in the tunnels. She said she was in the tunnels. She didn't know where she was. And then she got face to face with this creature, scared the hell out of her, got back to her house. The creature came back to her in her house, that she got up at what was like 3 a.m. and she literally started salting her property at 3 a.m.
Yeah. The creature followed her home.
Yeah.
Right. She went there and it followed her home in her dream. Yeah. Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
That's crazy stuff. Absolutely. Yeah.
Miss Aida in the chat room is asking what a Wendigo is. Wendigo.
Wendigo.
No, it's Wendigo.
Wendigo.
Yeah.
I'm from northern Wisconsin, and with our Chippewa tribes, Winnebagos, they call them Wendigo.
Wendigo.
Okay.
I've heard them pronounced several different ways.
Oh yeah, you can do them. There's a Wendigo. Plural is Windhog.
Yeah, they don't talk about them.
Right.
Very much, because they don't want it to be brought to them. The evil. It's almost when you speak it, it'll come to you. Mm-hmm. So they keep it down, but it's skeletal, right? With
it's a Native American demon. That's what it is. Yeah. And they feel that if you call its name, you mention it by name, it's like conjuring it, and it will come to you. So they don't even talk about it. No.
Yeah, there's a lot of variation in that one, because when I was growing so far north Wisconsin, Hodat, and was not is it the Hodat? The cryptid from the Great Lakes region. Maybe you didn't get it right.
Oh, I know what you're talking. Is that the serpent?
It's cryptid? Like a fuzzy alligator.
Yeah.
Thing.
I know that. I know. Oh, Jesus.
The Hodag. I think it's the Hodag. I could be wrong, and that's not even far. But we had 2 versions up there, depending on which tribes you were talking about. Okay. One was, the frozen brave. The whole thing is insatiable flesh eating, right? Yeah, kind of thing. And one would be a brave that took on the curse to protect the tribe, and then the other one is more of, I don't know how to explain it. More of like a forest demon kind of thing. Keeps growing as it eats flesh, grows antlers, kind of.
Yes,
like a skeletal form
that's
of
the one that got. The other one you're speaking of is the Skinwalker.
Okay, yeah, because they have baycocks too, which you don't really hear about. That might just be a total. Look that one up. A baycock, BAYKOK. It's Algonquin Iroquois in origin.
Oh, okay, absolutely. Yeah. Okay.
Something very interesting when you talk about Skinwalkers and Wendigo. I don't know if anybody recalls this, but a long time ago. I mean, I think I'm probably almost 30 years, maybe less than that, about 30 years. There was a Greyhound bus leaving. I think it was British Columbia,
Manitoba.
And,
yeah.
The bus stopped, and I remember listening. I was listening to. You were able to listen to the police scanner, and the real time thing was going on. They had some cameras there too, and they quickly got rid of this footage. But apparently, what happened was a gentleman got on the bus, kind of indigenous looking, a little bit more on the Asian side. They said he smelled like dead flesh, and he was acting very strange. He had the darkest, blackest eyes they've ever seen. He walked to the back of the bus where he was, sat down next to a guy. The guy said hi, whatever, passed out, went to sleep. Then as the bus was moving, the guy cut his part as that guy's head off, and literally cut his head off, freaked everybody out on the bus, and started eating the flesh from this guy that was sitting next to him. And the bus stopped, and no one knew what to do. They were surrounded by Mounties. He would literally taunt the police by holding the head up in the bus window. You remember those old buses? They had the big window there. I think it even had the bottom one, almost like a school bus.
Yeah.
And he's like holding it up and going crazy. And eventually they got him out. But I think recently, within the last 2 or 3 years, he may have been up for what is equivalent of parole in Canada. I don't think he got it though. But
yeah,
it's an odd creature. When you said the smells like flesh, and it's an insatiable appetite. That would be pretty odd. I mean, I've seen some stuff in the subways, similar, but no Wendigos though.
Yeah. New York City has its own kind of flora and fauna.
Oh, absolutely, without a doubt.
Oh Lord.
Critters.
Yes.
They're critters. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm dropping links to Skinwalkers, which tend to be is it mainly with Navajo and Apache?
Navajo.
Yeah,
Navajo.
Skinwalkers are basically out west, and the
Navajo
and the Wendigo are more eastern, central, northern United States to the east. Yeah, like you said, the Algonquins and the Iroquois. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
our friend in chat, Chandler, is a good part of Algonquin, and he provides a lot of input on that.
Yeah,
awesome.
The Navajos, Skinwalkers.
Yeah, I drop links for everyone to check stuff out.
Awesome.
They're just nasty business.
Anything that's eaten like human flesh, even though I'm not exactly the biggest fan of my other humankind, I gotta tell you, ick.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a little, it's very odd. It depends, I can't speak to Al, but, him and I have seen some pretty crazy things in our lives, and together and apart. So, I mean, it'd be like, okay, this is interesting. While everybody's cowering away, not to say that I'm going to be Mr. Brave or Al's going to be brave, but we would have been like, did you just see that? Yeah, I just saw that. That was pretty cool. I mean, what the hell is going on? You could just, not appreciate it, but understand it better than other people just be freaked out by that. It's not an everyday thing, but we've seen some stuff that would really freak you out.
I have to correct myself. Chandler's Iroquois, Mohawk specifically. So.
Oh, okay, very good.
Oh, Mohawk.
Same
Okay.
thing. Yeah.
So that's the 5-Nation Confederacy, correct? That's up in northern. 5-Nation Confederacy was northern part of the United States. Onondaga, Mohawk.
Oh, it's a six nations Confederacy of the American Revolution. Things might have changed it.
Yeah, they were the first ones to actually try to accept the fact that the Westerners were here and they wanted to build. That's why they did the Confederacy. They wanted to build a nation similar to the U.S., but that was struck down immediately because you cannot have a government within a government in the United States. And then they got slaughtered. Sorry, I'm not too proud of that part of that.
It's horrible.
Yeah,
completely.
Yep.
And no idea. Those Native Americans that disappear all the time. It's in Canada and the States, and it's the bad white men. Sorry.
Yeah, there's a lot of women now being taken from reservations.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very unnerving what's going on, because if you take the dynamic of what's going on the reservation, it's just destitute and poverty, and it's not a good place to be or grow up in. And I think they think that there are white persons coming in and picking and choosing what they
human
want.
Trafficking.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
but
what it is.
I mean, don't discredit the serial killer, because
true.
Yeah.
There's that too.
We'll find those things out. We were out, Al and I were out this weekend, Sasquatch, and I told him a story because I picked him up on a spot on Route 84, And I drove, we met one place and I drove the rest of the way up to the location. And at the location, I said, "You see that spot over there?" He's like, "Yeah." I said, "That was a rest stop. There was a serial killer. He left the torso down there by 203, and up here they left the head." So he separated and I forgot the name of the serial killer, but they did catch him. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
that's
mean,
all right.
we
Yeah.
just went for well, no, we're doing a different kind of bone-chilling tale of terror.
Well, we'll get into more stories.
Yeah, take it
soon.
away, buddy.
Well, before we get going, I just want to introduce everybody to the the Squatch, the Squatch father. This is the Squatch father.
When I get scared,
Squatch
I
father.
got an owl.
And Bryan had these made up for me and him. And
Yay!
everybody calls me the Squatch father. So he put my face on a teddy bear.
You got 3 sequels too? What's
Oh my God.
Listen, when you're scared, these scared things here, you gotta get somebody that's gonna come out there protect you. So when I introduced it to him, I had him sitting in my daughter's seat in the car. I said, "Al, meet little Al."
He had him strapped in. Yeah, he had him strapped in. So nuts. He's nuts. I got a couple of really quick stories that I can share with you guys that happened to me over the years, and then I can get into one really deep and dark and disturbing that a little bit longer that happened to me later on in life. First one was when I was about 16 years old. It's not much of a story, but it is what it is. My brother was a parapsychologist and a paranormal investigator, and he was working with Han Holzer's right-hand man. And at one point, he lived out on Long Island in Amityville. So he called me up one day. When I was in high school, I majored in photography. That was my thing. And he's like, "Listen, I'm going out to the Amityville Horror House with my team. You would like to come out and be my photographer for the night?" So, I was like 16. I was like, "Yeah, I'm in, let's do it, And my brother doesn't really doesn't get any gut feelings or vibes or have any premonitions for someone who has been out there for so long doing investigations. He, in his whole life, he's only seen one UFO. He doesn't have a lot of experience while when he's out there, but he investigates everything. And so we all meet up at his house in Long Island, and we jump into his station wagon. That's how long ago it was, an old station wagon. And we get in the car and we're driving to this house. And I felt like the closer we were getting to the house, the worse I was feeling. Like I was really starting to feel like, my stomach was turning. I was getting sick. I was like, this is not good. This is a bad idea. We shouldn't do this, but all my brother's friends are all computer nerds. You know what I mean? And they're all short guys. And here I am, this kid, I'm 16 years old. I'm 6 foot tall, 190 pounds, built like a shit brick house. And, so I can't be the one who chickens out, right? I'm with all these computer nerds, and I'm the tough guy. I grew up in the streets and this, that, and the other thing. And so we're getting there. And to actually get to the house, the driveway is very, very long and it's windy. And as soon as we hit that dirt driveway, man, I got a feeling of dread come over my body, just engulfed me. And I swear to God, there were moments as we were driving down that driveway that I seen shadow figures behind the trees on either side of us, peeking out or running from tree to tree. And they get to the house, and the house is gone. The Mayo family's gone. The Lutz family's gone. It's vacant house. There's nobody living in there. And everybody starts to go in. I told my brother, I said, "Listen, dude, I'm not going in. I'm sorry. I got a bad vibe about this house. There's something dark and there's something negative here, and I'm not going in. And like everybody's like, what's your brother psychic? And my brother's like, no, he's not psychic, but he's kind of like my mother. And my mother used to get premonitions, and and he's like, but you're my photographer, that's what I brought you for. And I was like, dude, here are my cameras. Be my guest. You could take all the pictures you want. And they went into the house and they did EVPs, and they had the big video recorders back then that you had to carry on your shoulders. And they took pictures, and I sat in the car in the dark by myself with the doors locked, watching shadow figures run all around me all night long. And I just never went into that house. Just bad vibe. And, nothing ever came of it. They didn't really get any evidence that night. I think they may have caught a couple of EVPs, but there wasn't any really like shadow figures or on the videos. And I don't think he really caught anything in any of the photographs either. We got back in the car, we drove back to his house, and all his friends left, and I slept at his house that night. And I mean, there was no residual effect from them going in there. Nobody brought anything home. Nobody was attacked, but nobody felt the way I felt. I just had this overwhelming sense of dread, and maybe it was just me, my sensitiveness, my sensitivity. Maybe if I would have went in, something would have happened to me, but I was not crossing that threshold for the life of me. And so that's number one. Then later on, and we were about 17, we were in high school. And speaking of Sullivan County in Appalachia, my girlfriend at the time, her father had a summer house up in the Catskill Mountains, and he had a beautiful, beautiful home up there that overlooked 7 mountaintops. It was really, really picturesque. And whenever we would go up for the weekends when her parents weren't using the house. We'd all pile into a car and we'd go up. And because I used to go up there all the time skiing with my father and my brother and my cousins, I knew the history of everything. And my brother would tell us there was a train that derailed off of this thing and all these people died. And we got to take this train one time, this ghost train. And then he brought us by this hotel that had, it was back in the 50s when the Catskill Mountains were really like the rage, and all the people from the city would go up there for the summer vacation to the lakes and stuff. There was this one building, I guess it was a hotel, I guess at the time, but it was made out of wood. All of those stuffs were, the cabins, all those things were made out of wood. And it was a terrible fire there. And I know like a couple of people died and a small child died in the fire. So we used to pass it all the time, going skiing or going up to my ex-girlfriend's house, and so we used to say, oh man, we got to go in there. We got to investigate this place. We got to go in there. So one weekend on the way up, we decided, okay, this is the weekend we're going to do. We're going to go in there. I got my cameras because I'm the photographer, right? I got all my cameras, and my friends, we all go in, and, we got the video, not the video, the recorders, audio recorders, back in the old days, the little square ones, and we go in there and we go down this driveway. It's like you go down, you go underneath this canopy, then you go up the other side of the driveway. We go down, we pull in, and we get out, we go in, and there's really not much left of this hotel, and we go in and everybody kind of spreads out, and I get this terrible feeling of sadness come over me. It was just like really, really sad. And so I'm taking pictures, and in one of the photographs, nothing really happened. We didn't experience much of anything, but there was a stairwell that went up. As soon as you walked in the door, you made a right, and the stairwell went up, and then it went across like to the first floor, I guess. And there was a landing there with a banister and everything. And I took a picture. And when I took a picture there, we left, we went to her house, we partied for the weekend, came home. That next Monday, photography school, in class, I developed all the film and everything. And in that one photograph was a small child with her face up against the railing, looking at me, like you could see tears coming down her eyes, in a nightgown. And it was, I got goosebumps just talking about it now. I'm getting goosebumps. And it was so heart-wrenching to see that child. I said, you know what? I felt like I had captured the soul of this child in this photograph. And I did not want to be responsible for her soul. So one weekend on our way back up, we stopped at that location, and I dug a little hole, and I put a photograph in a little little box or whatever. And I said a prayer, I hit it with some holy water, and I covered it up, and I made a little cross, and I left it there. I didn't want to have her soul attached to me. I felt like I took it with me when I developed it, you know what I mean? And that really freaked me out, just freaked me out. And when I left the photograph, I left the negative as well, because I felt like she was attached to that negative. And that was one of my experiences. Then after we graduated high school, one of my best friends, Hank, he went up to Connecticut to this school for like auto mechanics, like a trade school. And while he was there, we used to go up and visit him on the weekends and party at his apartment. And he had this kid who was a local kid from, northern Connecticut. And, we would all talk about the stuff we did and this, that, and the other thing. And, the ghost hunting came up, and the kid said, "Oh, you got to come to my town. There's this giant mansion in the woods that nobody ever goes to. That's completely haunted. And you guys got to come up and investigate it." So we're like, "Yeah, we're in. Let's go. Let's do this." Right. So I think it was over like the Thanksgiving Day weekend or something. We drove up. It was me, Hank, and this kid, Evans. And we all went up there, the three of us, and we pull into this town. Now, my friend Hank has got this 71 Barracuda with side pipes, you know what I mean? And because he's a car guy, that's what he does. And so we cruise up in this Barracuda in this little town. It was like we get off the main highway and we get on this dirt road, and we see nothing but pine trees. It's like I guess the Berkshire Mountains or something. I don't really remember where it was, but there's nothing. And then all of a sudden you come through this little road, and there's a town like in the middle of all these woods. And we pull in, and we're meeting Hank's roommate at the local diner. We walk in, and we're sitting down at the diner, and we're talking. And obviously everybody in the town is looking at us, like, who are these guys? They see the car license plate is from New York. And a sheriff comes over and he sits with us, and he wants to know what we're doing there. We're like, "Hey, we're meeting a local kid. We're, they go to school together with my friend here, and we're just hanging out with this guy. He invited us up over the weekend." The sheriff says, "Okay." And then the kid comes in, and everybody knows everybody, but it's a strange little town. It's got a weird vibe. And it's just creepy little town. So we eat breakfast, and then this kid says, "Okay, I'll bring you guys up to where the house is, but I'm not going on the property, And he said, "Well, what do you mean you're not going on the property?" I said, "No, I'm not going on the property. I'll bring you to the house, but I'm not going in the." I said, "Okay." So we get up there, and this house is humongous. Okay, I mean, it is a mansion beyond mansions. It's got a pool, like a Olympic-sized swimming pool. It's got a lake with a beach and a boathouse. And whoever built this was filthy rich, just filthy rich. So we go in, and we get there. We drive down this long driveway. It's like 3 miles long in the woods. I mean, you couldn't even run out of there if you wanted to, And we get there. We get to this house. We roll up, and it's still daytime out. It's early in the morning. We got all day to kill, and so we're it's not too bad during the day. I got a bad vibe from the place. I didn't like the vibe that I got. We went in and we looked around. We went upstairs. We went downstairs, and you walk in, and there's this giant marble stairs. They're like 10 feet wide, and they go like circular up these stairs, and then they go across, and then there's like the stairs that go down. We go down into the basement, and there's like a game room, and everything is still there. Like, I'm thinking to myself, all of this stuff is in this house. I mean, there's vases, there's Tiffany chandeliers, there's all this, marble and stuff. And I'm thinking, if this was in New York, it would be, gutted. There's no way that all of this stuff would be. No one would steal all this stuff. But no one goes to this house because it's haunted. And we go downstairs, and in the game room, they have the billiards and stuff like that, and they got all the animals' heads on the walls. But they got like this altar at the end of the room, and it's just this creepy vibe. There wasn't any pentagrams or anything like that, but it was just a creepy, and it was like all decorated in black and red, the altar. It was just, just nothing good. So we're hanging out, we're taking pictures of everything and all this stuff. And we go back out, we get in the car, we do a lunch run, we come back, we hang out, we do a dinner run. Now it's dark, we get back in there, and we get in there. And during the day though, I guess it's around the lunch run, I'm taking pictures I'm taking pictures of the house on every possible angle, east, west, north, south, every kind of angle, because it's really, like 4 stories high, this mansion. And I'm taking pictures all around. And I didn't know it at the time, but in one of the photographs in the back, while I was by the pool looking up on like the 3rd floor, there was somebody in a black gown looking out the window at me, like, what's this guy doing, right? But I didn't know that. I didn't notice it because this is back in the time when we had single lens reflex cameras. There was no looking at the digital picture in the back as soon as you took it. You know what I mean? You didn't know what you had until after you developed the film. These are the old days, okay? So it gets dark, and I get like, I'm walking up the front steps, and I just get a vibe like, don't do it. Al, don't do it. Don't go in this house. Don't do it. So I said to my friend Hank and Evan, I said, here are my cameras. I'm not going in. You guys do what you want to do, And Evans was like our audio guy. He was a musician. He had all the audio kind of equipment. I was the photographer, and Hank was like, like, he was our fearless leader because he had the car. He was the one who brought us everywhere, So, so I don't go in. I give them the cameras. I said, do what you got to do. I'm not going in. So they go in, and I'm sitting in the car, and I got the doors locked and the windows up, and I'm sitting there watching, and I'm seeing flashes going on upstairs. I see flashes going on the 1st floor, down in the basement. And, they're taking tons and tons of photographs, and the flashes going off left and right. And all of a sudden I hear people screaming bloody murder. I hear Hank yelling, start the car, right?
Start the car.
And it was funny because when we pulled in there, we pulled in nose first. And I said, Hank, turn this car around. I want it pointed out in case we got to get out of Dodge fast. I don't know why I said that. It's not something that I normally would say, but I just had that vibe. Like, let's point this baby out if we got to get out of Dodge, So I'm hearing Hank screaming, start the car. So they both come running in, and Evans' shirt is shredded. And Hank's head is swollen like a balloon. And I'm like, what the hell happened to you guys? And Evans is telling me, yeah, I was down in the basement in that game room. We called it the game room because there was billiards there. And he says, something grabbed me in the dark. And he said, but it had claws. And when he pulled me towards it, I leaned back, and it ripped like the shirt right off his body. And he had like scratches on his chest, not deep, bloody, but it was just scratches like something. And then Hank said he was up on the 1st floor on that marble staircase because he heard Evan screaming down in the basement. He was going to see what, and something grabbed him from behind and threw him head over heels down those steps. He could have broke his head open and died. And so We got out of Dodge. We hit that road 100 miles an hour, and we never looked back.
In reverse, yeah.
We just flew through that town. I mean, we didn't stop for any stop signs. We didn't stop for any. I think there was one light in the middle of town. We just blew through it 100 miles an hour.
Sheriff was leaning back in his car watching y'all do that, giggling.
Yep.
The sheriff,
Exactly.
Yeah, you know what? We didn't see the sheriff when we left. I mean, it was one of those towns where, like, at 9 o'clock, they rolled up the sidewalk, they shut the lights, and everything went dark. The whole town was dark. I mean, we all you see was this silver Barracuda blowing down the road at 120 miles an hour, you know. And so those were those like really 3 quick stories. And then in I think what year was it? 89. I started at the post office, right? And I was I'm working up in the North Yonkers, North Station. Yonkers is a really big city, and it's got like 10 different stations in it. And I'm up in North Yonkers. I'm working in North Yonkers, and they send me out with one of the senior guys for training, you know. And so I go out with this guy. We'll call him Sam. And go out with this guy. And this guy had a beautiful route. It was all condominium buildings with swimming pools, the whole 9 yards. And he had like his own office down in the basement where he used to have lunch and everything. You know, they set him up with like a microwave, a coffee machine and everything, because he had been on the route for so long. Everybody knew him and loved him. And he starts telling me about this building on North Yonkers. He's telling me about this building. It's number 35. If you ever do this building, don't go down in the basement. You know, if you have to go to the bathroom, drive back to the post office. Don't use the bathroom in the basement. And he's going on, and he's telling me about his buddy who was the mailman there for like many, many years. And so, you know, and he's telling me that this is a really high-end building. You know, there's all doctors and lawyers and businessmen and teachers and nurses and just, you know, very educated people. There's a doorman. They have a beautiful pool in the backyard with a tiki bar. They have parties going all summer long. And it's huge. You got a north section and a south section of the building. It's humongous. And he's telling me, and he says his best friend was doing the building. And he had been doing this building for like 15, 20 years or whatever, something like that, at least 15 years. And he never had any issues in this building, never had any issues. And this building got a ton of mail. And so one Halloween, he has to use the bathroom. So he's trying to look for the doorman, because the doorman's got his own office with a bathroom in it. Can't find the doorman anywhere, you know. And apparently he knew about this building as well, not to use the bathroom downstairs. So then he tries and he goes and looks for the super, and the super's nowhere to be found. And he's like, you know what? I got no choice. I'm not driving all the way back to the post office. I got to go down to the basement and use the bathroom in the garage. Now, the bathroom in the garage was the bathroom that they used all summer long with the people who were at the pool, with the parties and the tiki bars and the whole 9 yards. So he had used that bathroom many times over the years, but only during the summer when the pool was open and there was people down in the basement. So anyway, he goes down there and he's sitting in the bathroom doing his business when he starts hearing chanting going on. And he's like, what the hell is that? And he starts smelling smoke. And he's like, what's going on out there? You know, like, you can't imagine what's going on, you know? So he opens up the door to see what's going out in the parking lot. And there's like 4 hooded figures around a pentagram that's on fire on the floor of this garage. And the smoke is billowing up, hitting the roof, because the roof is not that high in the garage. It wasn't a very high roof. And the smoke is building up, and these people are chanting. And he says, he told his buddy, he said, look, I don't know what it was, but something, the gray was black, the smoke was black, but some gray smoke came out. And when this gray smoke came out, it turned into like an entity. He goes, I don't know if it was the devil himself or a demon. All I know is that when I seen this thing come out, I closed the bathroom door so they didn't see me. But apparently this entity heard the door close and went over to the door and told him through the door, for what you've seen here today, I'll have your soul, right? So now this guy, we'll call him Joe. Joe freaks out. Joe freaks out. He's sitting in the bathroom for like an hour. Eventually, the doorman comes down because he sees all the mail in the lobby. You know, and they're looking for the mailman. They go downstairs. They see the door. He's in the bathroom. They see the light on in the bathroom and everything. They ask him if he's okay. He says, yeah. He goes outside. He tells them there was fire here, you know, but there's no sign of any fire. There's no smoke, soot on the ceiling, no nothing. So the super is like, I don't know what to tell you. There's nothing here. I don't know what you've seen, but, you know, I've been here all day and we didn't see anybody come and go. And, you know, it's not like these hooded figures came through the lobby and went downstairs. And how would they get into the garage if they didn't have, you know, a clicker to open up the garage door, you know? So this guy packs up all the mail, goes back to the post office, tells the supervisor what he sees and says, I'm never going back in that building ever again. I don't give a shit. You could fire me. I'm not going back in that building. So the supervisor says, okay, calm down, you know, relax, you know, go home and you know, we'll talk about this in the morning. Well, the guy goes home and he tells his wife what happens and goes back the following day and he tells the boss, says, listen, I'm going to take a leave of absence because, you know, he's just shit to the core, you know? Mm-hmm. Apparently he becomes an alcoholic. He loses his house, his wife and his kids. Everybody leaves him. And, you know, it's just a mess, you know? And the whole time that this guy, Sam, is telling me this story, I'm thinking, this guy's full of shit. You know what I mean? I'm a newbie. He's trying to freak me out. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But so then he tells me that his buddy Joe, at one point, goes back to, he bids on another route in East Yonkers, and he gets a route in East Yonkers, and he never goes back to North Yonkers ever again. And while he's in East Yonkers, his life gets better. He gets an apartment on the route and everybody, you know, he's like the mayor on the route. Everybody knows him and he's doing good. Now, what this guy, Sam, doesn't know is that my brother-in-law is a mailman in East Yonkers and my brother-in-law lives right around the corner from me. As soon as I get home tonight, I'm going to call my brother-in-law to validate this story, you know, because I think he's just pulling my chain. So he's telling me that this guy, Joe, life is going good. He's talking about getting back together with his wife and his kids and all this stuff is going on. And then at one point, you know, it's getting towards the end of the summer and he's got this house down. He's got these like 4 or 5 houses at the end of this little dead end street. And at the end of the street, there's like a little grassy knoll with a giant maple tree in it, almost like a park setting, but it's not really a park. It's just a piece of property at the end of the development. And he's delivering the mail. And he gets to the last house on the block. And all of a sudden, this black cat shows up. And the black cat is attacking him every day. Every day he's spraying this cat with dog spray and it has no effect on this cat. So he starts holding these people's mail at the post office. So after about a week or two, these people call the post office and they say, hey, listen, you know, we haven't gotten mail in 2 weeks. What's going on with our mail? So the supervisor says, oh, let me talk to Joe when he gets off the road. I'll find out what's going on. So Joe comes off the road and he says, well, hey, you know, these people call, they want their mail. You know, what are you doing? And he says, well, tell these people to keep their cat inside. The cat's been attacking me for like the last 2 weeks. I'm not dealing with this crazy cat every time I go down this block. You know what I mean? He says, otherwise, you know, I can leave their mail in their neighbor's mailbox if they want to walk next door to get it, because the cat just waits for me in front of these people's house, you know? And he goes, no, don't put anybody else's mail in anybody else's mailbox. He goes, I'll go there next Saturday or Monday or whatever. No, I think it was Saturday because people were home. He says, and I'll talk to them about, keeping the cat inside. So the supervisor goes over and he rings the bell and he says, here's your mail. I'm the supervisor. And he says, listen, I talked to Joe and Joe said, listen, you got to keep your cat in during the week if you want your mail because your cat's attacking him. And they both look at the supervisor like he's got 2 heads. Like, what are you talking about? We don't have a cat. And he goes, well, there's a cat in the neighborhood that's attacking the mailman, but only in front of your house. He's not attacking them at any other houses. So the guy says, well, I don't know whose cat it is, but it's not mine. He says, but I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll put our mailbox on the fence across the street, and he could put our mail there if this cat is waiting for him in our walkway every day, So he says, okay, well, that'll work. And so he goes back and he tells Joe, they say they don't have the cat. And he says, well, I'm telling you, he has a cat and the cat's attacking me. So supervisor asks my brother-in-law, who is does Joe's route on Joe's day off. It's called the floater. He does his route when Joe's off. So he asks my brother-in-law, he says, hey, you ever have a problem on this street delivering the mail at this house? You ever been attacked by a cat there? And my brother-in-law's like, no, I've been the floater on that route for like 5 years. I've never seen a cat on that street. And, I don't have a problem delivering the mail there. So he says, okay, so then he asks the truck driver. Now, truck driver's been there 20 years. And he says, hey, when you deliver packages to this house, do you ever have a problem with any cats, anything attacking you? And the truck driver goes, oh, what are you, crazy? A cat attacking me? No, I've never had any problems. I've been here for 20 years. I've never had a cat attack me on this street. So now the supervisor thinks, well, maybe Joe's losing his mind, So as time goes on, this cat starts talking to Joe, not literally, but like mental telepathy. And it's telling Joe, I know who you are. Don't you remember me? We already had a conversation. And he says, at the end of the summer, I'll have your soul. So Joe freaks out, just freaks out. This is the same thing this demon told him in this building. So, time goes on, and then the cat kind of just disappears, goes away. And Joe's delivering the mail, so on and so forth. End of the summer comes. What's the Labor Day, Memorial Day? I forgot which one is at the end of the summer. Was it Memorial Day, Labor Day? Labor Day. Yeah, Labor Day comes. It's a Saturday, and it's like 6:00 at night, and Joe's not back from the route. And the supervisor wants to go home. He wants to go home for the long weekend. Now, usually the last guy in is the truck driver. So the truck driver comes back, and he says, hey, did you see Joe out there, And he says, well, I didn't see Joe out there, but I seen this car on the route, And he says, well, could you do me a favor and go out there and tell him to come back? Because this was before cell phones. He said, tell him to come back because I want to go to hell home, And the truck driver says, sure, I'll, excuse me, he goes, I'll go back out and I'll talk to him and tell him to come in. So the truck driver drives out there, and as he pulls down this tiny little street, he sees Joe hanging from his mailbag on this giant oak. Joe committed suicide that day.
Oh my goodness.
And that day, that demon got Joe's soul. So now I hear this story. I call my brother-in-law to validate it, right? And I said, hey, and I tell him the whole story, and he says, yeah, Joe, I know Joe. Goes, yeah, that's true. And I'm like, holy crap, this is insane, So when I was dating my wife before I got the job at the post office, her parents lived right across this street from this park called Myers Park. Now, this park back in the 70s had a lot of rock concerts. There was a lot of drugs going on there and all kinds of stuff. But there were also devil worshipers that hung out in the park. And there's a bridle path that runs along the back of the park. It's actually an aqueduct where the water runs from the Catskill Mountain Range down to Manhattan. And there's tunnels back there. There are caves back there. There's actually these steps they call 1,000 steps that starts at the top of the park and goes down to the next block. It's like, a quarter-mile long. It's nothing but steps. And it goes right past this aqueduct. And so one day, my wife and I are at the park having a picnic. And we're talking, and she says, it's a beautiful sunny day. And she says, do you know where the caves are in the back? And I said, absolutely. I know where the caves are. I've been here a million times for rock concerts, I know where the caves are. So she goes, can you show me them? I said, absolutely. I'll show you. So as we're walking towards the 1,000 steps, we're on like a little road that the maintenance people of the park use to drive around with the trucks to pick up the garbage cans. And the wind starts picking up and it starts swirling and it's getting dark and it's getting windy. And it's crazy because 2 minutes before it was a beautiful sunny day. So we start walking down these steps towards this aqueduct. And we hear something come over our heads like a whoosh, like sound like giant wings, okay? So much so that we both duck. We both duck, like, almost like a bird of prey coming down on us. And we stop and we get up and we look around and there's nothing around. And she looks at me and she goes, did you hear that? And I go, yeah, I heard that. She goes, did you feel that breeze? I go, I felt it, yeah. So then she's looking down to her right on the aqueduct. And I'm looking down to my right on the aqueduct. We're both looking at the same location, but there's nothing there. So she looks at me and I look at her and we both get this feeling like, this is not good. This is something dark and demonic is here. We should just leave. So I say, she goes, you know what? Let's forget about the caves and let's go home, right? So I said, I'll tell you what, up along the side of the back of the park is a thing they call the bird cage. And I'll bring you to the bird cage. We'll check out the bird cage of the bird. And she says, okay. So as we turn around and we start walking back down this road that the parks department use, we're walking, and we're quarter mile there, and we could just start to kind of see the bird cage in the distance because this bird cage is humongous. It's the size of a house, you know what I mean? It's the biggest bird cage you've ever seen in your life. And as we're walking there, all of a sudden, we hear the whoosh again. Whoosh. Again, we both duck. And she looks at me, and I look at her. And she goes, did you feel that? I go, yeah. I go, did you hear that? She goes, yeah. Now we're both looking up at this giant oak tree branch that comes across the path of the road. And we're both looking up at it. And again, there's nothing there. But she goes, do you see what's up there? And I go, what do you see? And she goes, what do you see? And I said, I'm seeing what looks like a gargoyle or something, or the devil himself with wings. And she goes, that's exactly what we're both seeing in our mind's eye, because there's nothing there to look at. But this is what we're feeling. This is what we're seeing in our mind's eye. And I said, you know what? Something doesn't want us back here today. We should just leave. We got back in the car. We went back to our house, which is literally across the street. Okay. That was 31 years ago. We've never been back in that park. Okay, after that. So now we're back to 89 and I'm at the post office. And the guy who has that route, Joe doesn't have the route, some other guy has it. The guy gets hurt. And the supervisor pulls me into his office and says, hey, listen, how would you like to hold down this route for a year? This guy's going to be out for like a year. And at least you'll know what you're doing every day. And you'll have your regular days off. And I know the route. It's a really nice route. It's all high-end buildings, really, really nice route. And I'm like, yeah, I'll do that route. No problem. Yeah, I'll hold that route down. So I'm delivering the mail. I'm delivering to all these condo buildings and stuff like that. And I get to this one little street. And I notice that all the houses on the left side of the street have odd numbers. And the houses on the right side of the street No, it was the opposite way. The houses on the left side of the street had even numbers, and the houses on the right side of the street had even numbers on the right. So I'm sorry, even numbers on the right, odd numbers on the left. But I get to this one giant building that has a north and a south section, and it's number 35. And I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Why is this building on this side of the street? This building says number 42, but this side of the street, this building has an even number on it, but it's on the odd side of the street. Doesn't make any sense. So I go in, I deliver the mail, and I'm talking to the supervisor, the doorman, and he says, well, this building used to be number 35. They changed it to 42. And I was like, why did they do that? Why did they change it to 37 or 39? Why did they put an even number on it? Didn't make any sense to me. And he said, because this is David Berkowitz's building, son of Sam. And I was like, oh, okay. And I'm like, this is pretty crazy, right? So I become friends with the doorman, and I become friends with the super. So I asked the super, I says, what are you doing with Berkowitz's apartment? And he says, oh, no, we can't rent that apartment out. We use it for, storage, but I don't go in there. It's very dark in there. I send my guys in to get the stuff. I won't go in. So I said, hey, listen, could you take me upstairs? I'd love to see this apartment, And he's like, I'll take you up, but I'm not going in. I was like, okay, no problem. So he takes me up, and as we're getting up, and then David lived like on the 4th or 5th floor of a 6 or 8-story building. And as we're getting up higher and higher and higher, closer to his floor, I'm feeling a heavier and heavier feeling. Like, oh my God, so like a pressed feeling. And I swear to God, when the elevator doors open, my heart was beating hard. I thought the devil himself was going to be standing there. And as we walked down the hallway towards Berkowitz's apartment, I'm thinking, how do the people in this building, like to the left of him or to the right of him or below him or above him, how do they not feel this oppression? This is heaviness. This is a really dark, heavy feeling in here, And I'm saying, I don't understand how these people live in this building, And he opens the door, and I go in, and I walk around. I go into the kitchen, the bathroom. I go into the living room. I look out the living room window, and it shows the backyard where the pool and the tiki bar is, and it shows the houses on the street behind it and the houses behind that. And I go into his bedroom, and the same thing. His bedroom has the same view as his living room. You see the back. So I come out, I go downstairs, and I'm delivering the mail. And my boss says to me, he says, whatever you do, don't use the bathroom in the basement. He says, if you have to come back to the post office, drive back to the post office. Don't use the bathroom. I don't ever want you going down into the basement for anything. If you have any accountable mail and the people aren't home, leave it with the doorman. I don't want you going down to that basement. So I'm like, okay, no problem. But as time goes on, you get to know the people in the building, and they're pretty nice people. Everybody's pretty nice. So if I got a piece of accountable mail and the doorman says, hey, they're down by the pool, I'd rather them sign for it than me because they're home, they're just at the pool. I was going down to the basement all summer long. I was going down to the basement. I was using that bathroom. They would give me ice cream and hamburgers and hot dogs. They're like, bring a bathing suit. You can come out and hang out at the pool. And I was like, yeah, that's all I got to see. My boss driving by and see me in the pool, And I was having a great time. This route was fantastic, And so that went on for the whole summer. And then the summer ended. They closed the pool down, and Halloween rolls around. Now this building, I got the route in November the year before. So I was there all through the winter. And they always set this building up for every holiday. Every holiday they had the building decorated to the teeth. Halloween rolls around, there's no decorations. And the building's got tons of kids, and there's no decorations. And I'm like, where are they having the Halloween party for the kids, in the game room or whatever? And they're like, oh, no, we don't celebrate Halloween in this building. And I'm like, What do you mean you don't sell Halloween? It's got like 10,000 kids in this building. Why wouldn't you sell Halloween? They're like, no, we don't celebrate Halloween in this building. I'm like, okay, no problem. I want to celebrate Halloween. So I go that Halloween. The doorman's nowhere to be found. Super's nowhere to be found. I got to use the bathroom.
Uh-oh.
I got no choice. I got no choice in the matter. When nature calls, nature calls. Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I go down in the basement and I was like, all right, Al, don't let it get in your head. You know, it's just another door. You've been in this bathroom a million times over the year. You know what I mean? Nothing's ever happened. Nothing's going to happen today. So I'm in the bathroom and I'm doing my business. And all of a sudden I hear chanting. And I'm like, oh God, you know, please God, no, you know, I make like a sign of the cross. And then I start to smell smoke. And I'm like, this is no good. This is no good. So I shut the light off in the bathroom so they don't see the light that's on it under the door, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I shut the light off and I cracked the door just a little bit, just to see what's going on out there. And there's 4 figures in hoods around a fire that's billowing smoke. It looks like a pentagram from my angle, but I don't see any gray smoke come out, anything like that. And I just close the door very quietly and I sit on the floor with my back to the door because no one is getting in that bathroom. They gotta knock the door down and me down to get in. And I was sitting in there and I must have been in there for like an hour, maybe 2 hours. And then the super and the doorman come back around and they see all the mail in the lobby. And they're like, where the hell is Al? You know, they come downstairs and like, Al, are you down here? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, okay, well, you'll take the door off the hinges. We'll get you out. They thought I'm stuck in the bathroom. I'm like, dude, I'm not stuck in here. You don't know what I seen. You know, I seen some crazy shit go on, you know. And as I open up the door and I tell them what I see, and we all go over and look, and there's the pentagram on the charred remains of the pentagram on the blacktop, and on the roof of the driveway, the garage is covered in billows smoke, you know, stuff. So the super says, well, I got to clean all this stuff up before the people come home from work, because these people are crazy, because they're high end people. You know, if they see all this, they'll go nuts. So I was like, okay, you clean this stuff up, I'm going to leave, you know? So I deliver the mail and I go around the corner, and there was like a house that had like 100 steps to it. Okay. And the mailbox was down on the first floor, you know, in the driveway. But the woman who lived there was a little old Polish woman, and she was like in her 80s. And so what I would do is I would walk up the steps every day, rubber band the mail, and put it between her storm door, so she wouldn't have to make that stairs up and down, you know, to get the mail. And she was very thankful for that. She would leave me like hot chocolate, a piece of cake in the summertime, iced tea, lemonade, you know, coffee in the wintertime. So one day we start talking, and I tell her about what happened to me in that building. And she says, it's the park. The park is no good. The park is cursed. She said, there's devil worshippers in that park, and they live in these buildings. And the people that you've seen in those hoods probably live in that building, and this, that, and the other. She's telling me. And then she goes on to tell me a story how she had a young couple move into the first floor apartment, and they were a nice couple. They both worked. It was very nice. And then her husband got hooked up with this cult from the park, and they started practicing devil worship stuff in her house, in her apartment downstairs. And the woman got pregnant. And when the woman had the baby, all of these devil worshipers came to the house. I don't know if they were going to take the baby and sacrifice it or what, but she said she heard the woman fighting with the husband, screaming and yelling, and people making all kinds of noise. She called the cops. The cops came, arrested the husband and the devil worshipers, told the woman to get out of town. She took the baby. She moved back with her mother and father. And this woman said, ever since those people left, that the sink would go on all the time. She'd hear running water, and she'd go down there and shut the water off. She'd go back upstairs, and then she'd hear the toilet flush. And she knows there's nobody in the apartment. She'd look out the window, and all the lights would be on. She could see the lights coming out the windows onto the driveway and onto the yard, you know. And she'd go down there and shut the lights. She'd go back upstairs, the lights would be on. And she would hear banging on the wall and just scratching on the wall. And she was freaked out. She tried to, it was a very dominant Polish neighborhood, and she tried to have other people move into the apartment. And people would walk in that doorway and feel that presence and just say, no, thank you, I'm out of here. And then at one point she said a Polish priest was visiting her parish from Poland, and she got him to come to her house and do a cleansing or whatever, banishing or whatever he did. But he cleansed that apartment, and after he left, whatever evil that was there was gone, and that apartment was back to normal, you know. And that was just crazy. And that's one of my crazy post office stories, you know. And I haven't really talked about that a lot because as time went on, I ended up in the East Station. Okay, working with my brother-in-law, and my truck driver was the same truck driver who found that guy, you know. And we were hanging out at the bar one night, watching the Yankee game, shooting pool, and I asked him, I said, hey, is there any truth to the rumor that you found this guy Joe hanging from the tree? And he said, yep, right on that street there, I found him, you know. And I'll tell you how weird life is. Today, I'm that truck driver, and every time I go down that street to deliver a package, I look at that tree. How crazy that! Talk about synchronicity or whatever, you know. Mm-hmm. Every time I go down that street, and I go down that street every single day, because with all these Amazon packages, I'm always delivering something to somebody. And every time I go down the street, I look at that tree, and I was like, man, this is crazy how everything has gone full circle from that new guy who came in who heard this crazy story to now I'm 32 years later, I'm the senior guy, you know. It's crazy.
And now he has a bathroom in his truck.
I would too. Yeah.
Oh my God.
But that,
and don't stop to play with black cats.
No.
I've had a black cat named Smokey. He was a great cat. But that's a crazy story. And it's, you know, like I said, I couldn't tell that for many, many years because I still worked with all those guys, you know. Yeah. So I wouldn't discuss it while I was still on the job with them. And then as time went on, they started to retire. I felt it was okay to start talking about it, you know. Mm-hmm. But that's crazy. I mean, just crazy events that happened back then, you know. And when I found out it was David Berkowitz's place, it was just like, oh my God, son of Sam, you know.
It's interesting. We did a day investigation over near that park, and the park is notorious for that. We have a couple of parks by me, Inwood related, where they had devil worshiping as well. But it always is. It has always had that kind of vibe to it. There's something really weird going on with that park. I don't think there's much devil worshiping going on there, though. I don't think they find much stuff there anymore, do they?
No, I mean they fixed the park up. They put like $2 or $3 million into it. It's absolutely breathtaking park now. I mean, it was always a beautiful park, but I mean, what they did now with like Roman gardens and stuff like that, it just really they try to get away from that bad reputation. And my brother, who used to work at the hospital right next door. My brother was a computer programmer for the hospital right next door. I used to work the night shift, and his office was up on the top floor. And he said there were nights when he could look out his office window and see bonfires in the park, and he knew it was the devil worshippers doing what they did.
Yeah.
Were they really devil worshippers, or were they just, you know,
homeless
and druggies?
No.
Okay.
There was actually a guy who was the leader, who they thought was the leader of the cult. I forgot his name. If you look up onto my park and devil worshiping, his name will come up, you know, about him. But me personally, I believe the leader of that cult lived in that building. I believe those people used Berkowitz as a scapegoat. You know, like I delivered to Son of Sam's. See, Sam was the guy who owned the dog who lived behind Berkowitz's house. The dog used to sit up on the top of the steps and look up at Berkowitz's apartments. And David Berkowitz used to say the dog was telling him to kill these people. Now, Sam was a retired Yonkers cop, and the dog was a German Shepherd. And that particular street is a rear delivery. Everybody gets their mail at the back gate, because that's where they park their cars and go into their houses. There's no front to their house. Like their house, the front of their house is in the woods. It's the back of the house that you'll deliver to. And so I used to go down that street delivering the mail to everybody who had a dog, and everybody had a dog. All the dogs ran up to the gate, went crazy because I'm the mailman, right? I gave them all bones. They loved me, but I mean, so I could see where that German Shepherd would be up at that gate, probably waiting for the mailman. And Berkowitz is looking out his living room window, and he's having some kind of mental telepathy, he thinks, with the dog. Meanwhile, it's probably these powerful, rich people who live in this building that are conjuring all this darkness. And the guy leading the cult in the park is probably just another scapegoat for these people, Oh, it was very crazy stuff. There's
a story. Well, when the Son of Sam murders were taking place, and different sketches and what have you, I forgot the name of the guy that was the writer that really picked up this case. He wrote a book of like Pure Evil, I think it was called, but he connected that group, that cult, and that leader to people in the Midwest, which also connected to a cult in California that Helter Skelter was part of. So there was a huge connection there. But people, I think there's a lot of high up people involved in this, and they whitewash it. They got it out, and they try to discredit this guy. There's right now, I think I told Al about it. I said to watch it, but I think it was Netflix has of David Berkowitz movie, their documentary, and it's basically about this guy. But if you watch it, it's like a 5 or 6 part documentary. You'll get all the information you need about this. It's insane what goes on there. I mean, I remember, you hear about this, and you just don't, you didn't want to come home from where you were. You were worried about parents, and Al has a sister, and Mom, you got to worry about these things, even as younger kids, semi-young kids. It's a big deal. And what was interesting is where I live near right next to Yonkers. My grandmother actually lives in Yonkers. Something of interest is where I am, it was a nice neighborhood, and I was friendly with a family in the building that's next to mine down this hill, and they actually told me a story not that long after Berkowitz got caught, and his mother was coming into the building with shopping, and she must see the super with this other gentleman. I guess they were showing apartments. It was when everything was rentals. So she starts going in. She comes in the side entrance, the basement entrance, and she says, "Oh, hold the door." The elevator door closes, and she sees a hand come out and holding open the door with one hand. This one extended hand. She gets in the elevator. It's a super, and this guy that's in the elevator looking at one of the apartments there. It was David Berkowitz.
Oh, good.
So David and he was planning on moving into this neighborhood to continue doing what they were doing, because right across where I am, grew up, is a park called Inwood, and we used to go there to drink beers when we were younger. But they were devil worshippers. You get the ram's head, the nakedness, the cloaks, the fire, the chanting, and it was bizarre.
And the funny thing about it is Berkowitz was a mailman.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's very, very strange. all these connections that Yeah,
I know those bills are satanic.
And it's funny too, because back when Berkowitz was doing his mass murders and stuff, I was like 16 years old, and we were all hanging out at lovers lanes with our girlfriends and our cars and fooling around. And my brother used to say to me, you better be careful hanging out in those lover lanes because Berkowitz is killing all, couples and stuff like that. And I was like, Berkowitz? I said, not Berkowitz, Son of Sam. I said, Son of Sam. I said, that guy is a million miles away from Yonkers, I said. And he turned out living like 5 miles down the street, It's crazy.
Let me tell you, you never know who your neighbor is. You never know.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff. I mean, it's just so crazy that there were all these connections, between me and him and being in Yonkers and being a mailman and doing that route. And that's why they changed the number of the building, because they said there was so many cars coming through that street to see the building that people couldn't get in and out of the building to go home, or go to work. So they changed the number of the building so people couldn't find, number 35.
They couldn't get out of the building, and they couldn't get to their satanic meetings. I mean, it was impossible. We have to change the building's number.
Yeah, it was. But I mean, I'll tell you
should
what.
Should have changed it to 666.
There was a heaviness on his floor that you couldn't. Even if you wasn't sensitive, you could feel it. It's just like everybody's sixth sense would come through, because down in the first lobby and down in the basement, none of that stuff. I used to have to, if the doorman wasn't there, I used to have to bring the packages and leave them in front of everybody's door, So I was up and down all 8 stories on the north building and the south building millions of times, just leaving packages in front of. I never felt anything until you get to Berkowitz's floor. And then the heaviness is, like I said, when that elevator door opened, my heart almost stopped. I swear to God, I thought the devil himself was going to be there waiting for us. It was crazy.
Goodness.
Insanity. I mean, this is what Halloween's all about, right?
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
And it's not necessarily, evil as much as the thinning of the veil between different sides of the, where we are. So it's like Al and I always tell people, like, there's going to be a lot of people the next couple of weekends, hopefully, they're going to go out to these horror, like haunted houses and haunted hay rides. And we tell everybody, I said, go out there and, wear a symbol that of your religious belief. Even if you were born into it, wear it. It does help to believe more so. But you should really be carrying, protection on you, and like, salt and some oils and, like
crystals,
a brick of something, because
a brick in a bag, whatever.
I tell everybody before you go to these haunted attractions, sage before, put salt in a little packet, put in your pocket to keep you grounded and purified. And when you're done with the event, sage yourself again. Leave whatever you attracted there. Don't bring it home. There you go. There you go. And I always tell that to people, because I can't tell you like how many horror stories I've heard over the years where people go to these haunted attractions and something dark attached to, or people go to cemeteries and thinking it's just a cemetery, but they're there trying to make contact with stuff, and they're not saying, hey, Uncle Joe, or they're just asking for anybody. And then they bring something dark home with them, and they don't know how to get rid of it, if they can get rid of it. So, if you're going to go and you're going to do this stuff, even if it's just a joke, take it seriously. Protect, and protect.
Yeah.
I can't say that enough.
I'll tell you what, I mean, another thing you can do, it's part of it too, is, this American Spirit cigarettes. You can buy a pack of those, and there's sage in them. They actually put a couple different of these herbs that and that we use for purification purposes within the actual cigarette. It's more like it's less tobacco or less nicotine, but you burn something. And you have to understand that if you look at the history of Halloween, and I didn't know as much of it. I'm thankful to Miss Aida, actually, who did a half an hour special, and I was watching that. And I'll probably talk to her a little bit later on this week about it. But you know, a lot of times
She's saying stay away from mailman.
Yeah, well, it's kind of hard. It's you know.
I know where you live, Miss Aida.
Oh,
Staying away from it.
That's a Squatch father, baby.
Yeah, it's interesting because we put these costumes on, we go to these things, we put these masks on to hide ourselves from these other spirits that may be bad or whatever, so they pass over us. But you're literally you're going to an environment that's pretty much a neon light saying, hey, if you're evil or negative or whatever, come here. And you don't know who's in that crowd with you.
Right.
Right. You get into a crowd with 10 people, and there are, according to the FBI, there's at least 2 people there that are potential serial killers. Think about that. I think that, and that's even gotten increased in numbers these days because it's totally transitioned from, they used to base it on ethnic background or whatever, but it's always the weird guy. It's always like, oh, he was such a lovely clown at the circus. Like, yeah, well, he was killing people and burying bodies under his floor. Just be careful what you're doing.
Yeah, and according to our team psychic who I spoke to the other day, she said this Halloween, and I don't remember what the reasoning was, but she said the veil will be at its thinnest this year for some reason. I don't know. That's what she was telling me. There's gonna be a lot of stuff coming through.
Maybe we should burn our mail then. No.
Yes.
Just the bills. just the bills.
It's pretty interesting that it is going to be the thinnest because we've entered the age of the Aquarius, I believe it is. So it's been this enlightenment period, and I think this may be the last stand for some of these spirits to
wreak havoc.
Yeah, or put latch on to you or something like that. Yeah. And there's a lot of good spirits as well as bad.
Oh yeah.
I know my kids are getting visits from family members that have passed on that are very important to them. And although I haven't seen it, I feel it on my bed. My bed goes down and it's like someone's sitting at the edge of the bed, which is interesting. There's only one night recently, and I don't get scared very often unless the doctor says it's a girl.
That's a whole nother story.
That's a whole different scary. But there was one night I was
talking about a horror.
Yeah, tell me about it. I need that like I need a hole in my head right now. I was in bed I go to bed later than everybody else. I can't even turn my head off sometimes, and I get up really early. So I said, okay, I go to bed and I'm lying in bed and I laid over on my right side, just fall asleep, and I just got this god awful feeling inside, like there's someone standing right behind my bed, right next to me in my bed. It's not my daughter, any one of them. It was just, you don't want to turn around for this. And I heard it. It said, don't turn around for this, Bryan. Don't do this. And I stayed there and I was so tired. I was like, oh, the hell with it. And I did turn around and I was expecting, I had the guns all ready. I'm like, okay, if I'm going to turn around, I'm going to go swinging, but other than that, never really too nervous as far as dark is concerned. But with this veil being thinner right now, you'll be surprised what you may find in your own homes, to whoever is listening. It's not just to protect yourself when you go to these events, the cemeteries or haunted houses or haunted hayrides or whatever. It would behoove you to maybe burn a little sage or incense in your home and try to make peace with what's going on, with family members and whomever, just for a little bit more protection this Halloween. I think it's going to be a little scarier.
She also said that after Halloween, though, in November, things are going to get a lot lighter and a lot brighter. I don't know. So, we'll see what happens in November, but yeah.
Well, I hope they give out free pot then. I'm sorry. Oh, I just said that. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say that? A lot higher, a lot brighter.
That's an herb that'll attract positive spirits. So
yes, that is definitely. I wish I never got migraines from it, but yes, it was good. The good old days. There's there's a lot of strange stuff that we've experienced. I mean, I love when. Here's what's fun about being buddies with this guy that's here with me, Al, and I'm lucky because we talk all the time. I think both of our wives go, who are you on the phone with? Your other wife? I'm like, yeah, whatever. But I get firsthand knowledge of some of these stories here, and I also hear from some other people because a lot of other people talk about it. Like, really, does he have? I'm like, does he have all these experiences? I'm like, he has these experiences. Mm-hmm. Some people are lucky, right? Like some people have that hit that lottery for good looks and music prowess and whatever, or they hit the lottery. They're like lucky. Doesn't matter what they, scratch. Mm-hmm. Al, everywhere he goes, he has an experience, and I think it's purposeful because I think Al and I getting it together was meant to be. There was a little bit more divine influence here, and it's interesting, and the fact that we've become paranormal brothers and friends and brothers, and we continue to do what we do, it just says that there's somebody else looking out for us, and I'm talking with my hands like I was Italian. So that's why this Christmas you're going to want to pick up one of these. It's not atomically correct. I'm sorry, we haven't gotten that far yet.
My wife uses it for a punching bag, but
and maybe Miss Aida will take it and use it as a voodoo doll. No.
She wants one. She's screaming.
Out. Yeah,
she's screaming in the chat. She's screaming in the chat.
She's screaming in the chat.
We'll have to send her one. Yeah, I'm trying to. I already told him already. I'm having them made up, and I'm going to have a little piece in there where you press his hand or his paw, and it's going to say something like, "I need another cannoli,"
or snap into a Slim Jim,
or something like that. Exactly. But it's great. Everybody loves Al, and I'm just, I just love going on these crazy adventures because there's not many people that do what we do. Right. Or even believe what we believe.
Yeah, and we have a great chemistry between us and our energies. I mean, we can go into a location and we can go in different directions and meet up back in the front room and just say, yeah, something's dodging us. I've been chasing it. I've been chasing it over here, and you say, yeah, I was chasing something over there, and and it's funny because what's running from me ends up running towards Bryan, and then sees Bryan, and it runs back towards me. And then when we actually do the investigation and you capture it on the IR camera, and you see these orbs like come around the corner because Bryan's coming that way and I'm filming this way, and the orb comes around the corner and stops like, oh shit, this guy is over here, and then tries to head off in a different direction between both of us. Like, it's crazy. It just validates what we feel when we're on these investigations, and we both get affected in different ways. Like, I'll get tingling in my fingers, or metallic taste in my mouth, or pressure on my temples. And Bryan will get touched or something, or shirt
I'll get the goose flash or whatever it is. And then I start getting things too. I mean, not the metallic taste, but I was saying this to someone the other day today. There's so much turmoil in our world today. Everywhere I go, because I'm empathic as well. It is the worst trait to have as far as these gifts. I don't wouldn't even call it a gift. I mean, it's horrible. And you walk down the street. We just went shopping, and like, I know at least 3 people, someone has died recently, because you feel it. You feel the grief, and you're like, oh. And I have a spouse that doesn't believe in any of this stuff, and she thinks I'm crazy, and it's kind of hard to talk to. So the only person I get to talk to about these things, there's a couple of people. We're friends with a lot of people in this world, and a lot of psychics and whatever, and we could relate, back and forth to each other. But when you have that emotional, like, oh my God, you just walk in the room, like Al was saying, you hit David Berkowitz's place, that's the empath on you, and most people don't acknowledge it. But Al won't even acknowledge the fact that he has these gifts as well. We always question him, but it's, you just get it, and it's the worst feeling in the world. Like he said, like the devil himself was going to be there. I wouldn't want it. I mean, I hate it. But it comes in handy. I mean, I had the same feeling. Some guy came in to one of those like wedding centers, where they do weddings or celebrate parties. And I just told my wife, I said, we got to go now. So no, I just sat down. I was like, get your ass up. We're going right now. And she looked at me and I'm like, get out. And we got out, and the guy went up to his ex-wife who was getting married that day, stole her bag, stole her keys, stole her car, and he came out. And I just knew it. I knew it right that point. It was insane, but you can't tell your wife like, yeah, well, I knew because I'm psychic or I have abilities. They look at you like, okay, that's good for the divorce right there.
I thought you'd say, okay, Professor X.
Yeah, exactly. Engage number one. Nope. I keep seeing the Punisher. Yes. It's
Aida would
fun
like
stuff.
you to tell a UFO or Bigfoot story.
UFO Bigfoot story,
or both
UFO
at the same time.
I mean, I don't think.
All right, you start with the big
or your
UFO.
or your Dogman story, or any of them.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, a UFO story. One of the best ones that we've had. We did filming recently. We've been researching this subject together as well as individually for decades, and it's come to us in different ways. I had this. I used what I've learned in school, and I was majoring in a science background, but I knew about frequency, tone, consciousness, and we've come up with a certain way to have an interaction with beings, be it even ghost related, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, even UFOs. Call it an active.
Intelligent.
Say again.
Active intelligent encounter.
Active intelligent encounter.
AIE, yeah.
Right. And the whole point of AIE is the initial point that's most crucial for doing this is your intention going in. If you're pure of your intention, saying I want to have an interaction with it, I want to have a meeting or some kind of action, it helps. It's the basis of every relationship. Your intention is the basis. But we've used this, and we've discovered different ways to attract these beings in these craft to us. And we showed that on, we did this for the filming for Hudson Valley, Alien Invasion Hudson Valley. It's on Discovery Plus that we filmed for. And as far as I'm concerned, and I know, we are the only people that when we said we're going to do something, we're going to bring it in, we brought in crafts on screen. I've never seen this in any other program that I was aware of, except for what's his name, the Doctor Greer or whatever his name is. He's had some of that stuff, but as far as television right now, no one's ever done that before. But we did the Pine Bush UFO Fair 3 years ago, and we were wiped out. We did 3 half-an-hour presentations. We did 3-hour presentations. And then we promised later that day to do an active intelligent encounter for people there. Some people refer to it as a close encounter of the fifth kind, which is an active encounter. And frankly, Al and I were up. We were there like 5 a.m, and it was like 10 o'clock and 9 o'clock at night. We're like, can we go home now? But we met a nice couple there, a mother and daughter. They came specifically for that event that we were putting on. And we went there. And when we got there, there was about 60, 70 people there. They were families there. They were like a Saturday night, and they're out with the family. under the stars with other strangers from the town, and they're like ready to, like, hey, let's get this going on, which was great. And then we had like 40 more people come by. They like we were getting
at
called
least
up.
like another 30 people showed up in cars. Yeah.
So Al was just coming, he just had finished his chemo therapy, and he was like, it's all you, Bri. So I had to bring people into like almost a meditative state. And I explained to him what we were going to do there. And I said, you got to clear your mind and you got to mentally connect. And I call it through mind's eye or communication mentally. You, through your consciousness, we connecting to these aliens, these extraterrestrials, saying, look, we don't mean you any harm. We just want to know that you're here. We want to have an interaction. Can you make your presence known to us? And we're doing this. We're meditating, and everybody's meditating on their own. And then we're, after about 15, 20 minutes, people are looking up, and we know where the pattern of traffic is. It's nowhere near us with regular air traffic. So anything out of the ordinary from the air traffic is a potential. And as I'm sitting there and Al's pointing some stuff out, I hear what sounds like hooting and hollering. And I said hoot and hollering, and I don't know why. I've never used that term before, but in my day, it would sound like kids in the local park drinking and having a good time on a Saturday night, especially in a small town. And I'm just about to turn to Al and say, Al, do you hear that crazy hoot and hollering? And as I turn, before I could say anything, there's a guy that appears to be walking almost out of the woods towards us. And he goes, does anybody hear that owl? And I'm like, that would be the hooting part, right? So I said, oh, yeah. And I said, no, seriously, it was really because I'm in New York City. We have owls. I don't hear them,
Right. Right.
So, and as soon as I said, I said, I was about to say that. The next thing you know, I look up, and right above our heads, all 100 plus of us, is a huge craft. In like, I would say like a gunmetal black, it blended in basically to the sky above us, except in the center of it was a ginormous like dome, like a ball of light in the center. And it was the whitest, purest light I've ever seen. It's like an LED type of light. It was so bright that if you looked at it where it met this craft, you can see this hexagonal pattern that was like where it was like stuck in there. Everybody's going crazy. We start asking, like, can you do something? Al's asking, can you go to the mountains and then come back or make, maneuvers? And it flew out to the mountains in the distance. And I'm going to say about 50 miles. I mean,
about 20,
50,
yeah, at least 20,
whatever.
25 miles.
I mean, pretty clear up there. Flies out in an instant. Then it starts doing these crazy, like super fast right angle turns. Super fast, another right angle turn. And Al, he has his tack flashlight and he's signaling it like, Morse code, dot, 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 dash, dot, dot, and this thing's going dot, 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 dash. And I'm just, we're researchers, but when an event like this happens, we are blown away too, people.
Sure.
This is not an everyday experience, because if it was, we'd be charging admission and we'd be selling t-shirts. But we've been very successful with it. But I mean,
yes, we have.
And then at a certain point, I mean, everybody's going nuts. It blacks out. It disappears. And we say, can you just come back for one more time, one more moment? And as soon as I said it, boom, it appears overhead, and it just blinks out again, and then that was it. And
yeah, but
I'll tell you something. Yeah, no,
what's crazy about this event is that dome light was so bright, like Bryan was saying, it was almost like bluish white. It was pure, but it didn't put off like a rainbow, a halo effect or anything. It was like the light stayed right in that dome, except for maybe a little bit of light around the edge where you can see the craft. It really didn't light up. But when I did the tactical thing with the flashlight, and it did at the very end, I gave it 3 quick bursts. It gave us 3 quick bursts back. And the last burst, each burst was brighter than the one before. And the last one was so bright, I swear to God, it lit up 100 miles worth of sky.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, we had like the chief of police there. And he was like, "Oh, yeah." He was like, "I don't want to. I didn't see that."
Yeah, I
you
didn't
know
see
what I
anything.
mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I mean that is one of our, what was fantastic. That is a great out of this world experience. We're going to be doing some more of those. Hal and I, we're going to get together, and we've never figured out, is it, I think individually we have this ability to do this, but together it's kind of like a superpower. It's like, I don't want to use the old Wonder Twin powers,
melding
activate.
of the energies, right?
Yeah,
Super Friends was amazing.
Yes, they were. I love the twins.
Form of a keg, form of a cup.
And you had a little monkey to help out when you need.
Well, we can probably figure it. Can we get one of those, Sal? Can we get that through the airport?
That'll be a
Purple
little
monkey. Yeah, purple space monkey.
No monkeys.
But
I got enough Sasquatches. I don't need any monkeys.
Exactly. But I mean, it was a fantastic night.
Yeah, no, it was an amazing event, and we were very lucky that we had all of those people there to validate what we seen, and it was unbelievable. I mean, just unbelievable. It really was.
Yeah. It's you know what? Anytime you guys want and you come out this direction, if you get to do that, or Well and I get to do a road trip, and we're out there, we'll all take part in that. I think would be a great thing. And it's interesting because we have protocols for it as well, and it's I'm not going to go into the protocols. I mean, our timeline is different than your timeline right now. If I was on West Coast timeline, I'd be feeling pretty good about now. Yeah, it'd be pretty good, but it's not. I got to get up at 4:45 in the morning. But we employ these protocols, and I think if you want to, they can be used without question to make interactions and contact with departed loved ones. Definitely for Sasquatch, Bigfoot, whatever you want to call them, and other craft. But again, it's all about attention. If your attention is to try to deceive, you're not fooling anybody. The universe knows what you're doing. So
absolutely, I agree.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, we were out squatching last Saturday. We were up in the Berkshires. We were with a friend of ours who has his own group called the Berkshire Mountain Bigfoot or something like that. And we were at different points and times in the investigation. Bryan and I both did our own little AIEs on our own in different parts of different sections of the mountain, to try to make contact. And I had a ghost box going, and I was getting hits on the radar telling me that there was something to my right, and it was far away, and then it moved over, it was yellow, it was getting closer, then there was something directly in front of me, and when whatever this was that was directly in front of me, I started getting words on coming out of the ghost box, and I forgot what shirt I had on. I think I had a Bigfoot shirt on or something that I remember. It was weird, it actually mentioned something. Shirt. Actually mentioned something about my shirt, so I don't know what we made contact with that day, because we had a couple of weird experiences in the woods that day, but I think once we got to the top of that mountain and we started our own little thing, I think we made contact with something.
I mean, what's interesting about this, it may not be like, hey, how are you? I'm Bigfoot. How's it going? Yes. Right. These are my kids, little Bigfoot. And, it's going to be little drops here and there. Yeah, this is my big toe. It's my big toe. And,
how's it going?
That's Littlefoot. She's not really happy that she's called Littlefoot.
Yeah, right.
It'll just be another Bigfoot just going, I hate you, Dad. I'm like, I get it all the time. But what we were getting is when I started to employ it, and then Al was employing it, things started to respond, but not necessarily directly. I mean, I had footfall. No one was walking, and all of a sudden it sounded like something was running through. We had a bird whistle. We had tree knocks. I mean, one of the best ones with Al is we were coming down, and I noticed it immediately. We were coming down this path that was like
4 feet wide,
4 or more feet wide, and there was no leaf litter on it, and it was spongy. It was moss, like someone literally dug it up, make it softer to make it easier on the big feet,
Ooh.
and he's going through. I have it on camera. And the next thing you know, he's looking around like he's looking for who has his, like who threw that beer at me kind of thing. And I'm like, what's going on? He had this look about like his necklace he wears was pulled. It was pulled up. And he's looking initially for like, okay, what did I get it caught on? There are no trees anywhere near him like that. There's nothing. There's no twigs. There's nothing. And I, unfortunately, on my camera, I have some blur there. But I can't say definitively if that was a camouflaged individual entity or if it was just bad camera, because it's a body camera. So I'm gonna have Al look at it. I'm gonna have a couple other people look at it, and Chris, our buddy, because I have it caught, and it was just a fantastic time with this,
Yeah,
but one day we're gonna get
the crazy thing about it is I have an Italian horn, okay, but it's made out of buffalo
Al, this
horn.
is a family show, Al. Let's
no,
talk
it's
about that.
it's made out of buffalo horn, a real buffalo horn, okay? And when my chain got pulled from behind, that horn popped up and stabbed me in the neck.
Ugh.
And that's what made me turn around, because I don't remember seeing any branches sticking out into the path, because normally I would have just snapped them out of the way.
Mhm.
So I turned around with a dumb look on my face. I was dumbfounded, like, what the hell did I just get? What the hell did I just get? It's stuck on. I mean, the necklace is here. I mean, how something would have to reach. I mean, and I turned around and Bryan says, you got like the craziest look on your face. And I'm like, dude, you don't know what just happened. I mean, my necklace got pulled and that horn stuck me, and it's a sharp horn. It stuck me right in the neck. And then there was another incident where I was sitting on top of the mountain, and Bryan and this other guy, Chris, were like midway point, and they were looking up at me, and I was looking up, and my camera just bought a new camera that flicks over from regular vision to night vision to infrared, full spectrum. It's got 3 different settings on it, right? And I'm sitting down there filming them, talking to me. At least I think I was filming at the time. I believe I was. When all of a sudden, there's a bush to their right, a little tree, a little bush. And I don't know if something jumped out of the tree and landed on a bush, because the bush went like this, or if something ran by and ran right through it, but immediately I went from regular vision to night vision to full spectrum to see if I could see anything in those spectrums of light, because there was no reason for that tree to shake violently. There was no wind. There was no nothing. And I'm looking at them and I go, did you guys just see that? And they're like, no, what did you see? Because they're facing me. They didn't see it at all. I was the only one to see that. Hopefully I have it on camera. But I mean, it was so crazy. But my mind just went like, quick. If there's something that goes, originally when I seen it, I'm looking for that like predator kind of blur kind of thing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then I said, quick, infrared, bang, nothing. Okay, full spectrum, bang, nothing. Well, it's not in those 2 spectrums of light. I didn't have a thermal on me that day because I really didn't, I didn't want to bring too much gear with me. And so I don't know if I caught anything in it. I still haven't reviewed it. I'm the worst when it comes to reviewing stuff, but I really am. But I mean, it was just we had a couple of strange occurrences that happened that day up on that mountain that didn't make any. We had a bullfrog, okay, going off at the bottom of the mountain, the loudest, bassiest, deepest bullfrog you ever heard. And okay, we had a lake to our left and we had a reservoir to our right. There's plenty of water.
But not in that area.
An hour later, because that's what it took us. That's how long it took us to get to the top of this mountain, hiking up this mountain. We get to the top of the mountain, and the bullfrog is still going off on top of the mountain. The same volume that it was down below. How is that possible? Just didn't make it.
Yeah.
And these whole woods, and hundreds and hundreds of acres, Berkshire Mountains, just hundreds of acres, thousands of acres, devoid of life. No squirrels, no chipmunks, no nothing, no birds, no nothing.
No crickets, nothing.
Where are these
highly
animals?
Unusual. Yeah.
I mean, they should all be rummaging for food for the winter.
Right.
Foraging to put food away for the winter. I got 1 million squirrels and chipmunks in my backyard digging holes all over the place. And here we are in the forest, and it's devoid of life. It was strange.
Yeah.
It really was.
Especially because the area, not many people go up to this area. It's not very heavily, humans aren't really there. So that's usually where you would have more crickety sounds or chirps or something like that. But and again, back to the bullfrog thing, it was Chris, myself in the middle, and then Al was behind me, and I heard the bullfrog. It was like ribbit, 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 double ribbit. And I thought maybe, it was an odd sound. And I said, maybe it's a scout sound like thing. There's 3 of them, because we've had an experience like that before. And it's going. And the minute Al does this tree knock to try to communicate with if there's Sasquatch Bigfoot there, the bullfrog just stopped. And it didn't come up for quite
we
a
got
while.
to the top of the mountain, which is like an hour hike.
Wow.
So that was really, really like, okay, that's really interesting. So, but we're gonna try to go back to it.
And then when we were leaving, after I had my necklace pulled, and we're coming down this wide trail, which is insanely wide. If you wanted to call it a game trail, it was the biggest game trail I ever seen in my life. Okay. But we come down to the end of this trail, and now we didn't know, but we had crossed over into state land because the woods we were on were private, and we crossed over into state land. But this trail leads right out to where the fence, the divider fence, is broke. There's no fence there anymore, so you can go from one state land to private land.
Yep.
But at the end of the path is a tree that snapped and twisted and pointed like this is the way you go to get through the fence. There's no fence this way. It was crazy.
Exits that way.
Yeah, the exits that way. Absolutely.
Exits that way.
Yeah.
So we're gonna hopefully, I know this property like the back of my hand, and hopefully we'll be able to get back up there and continue to do some more of this stuff. Because I think if we could stay up there for a night, I think things would progress nicely. Yeah,
it's very. We found so many structures, different kind of structures, Sasquatch structures in the area. It's ridiculous, and like I said, for one land, it's private, and there's hardly ever any people there except for maybe in the summer. But then after September 1st, from September 1st to July 1st, there's nobody there, and then you have the state land right next door, which is posted land because it's a reservoir. You can't go there, so it's like a sanctuary for these creatures. We found tons and tons of evidence. Tons.
No one hunts it, so it's not like it's hunted. The nearest neighbor doesn't even go in the woods.
Yeah, it's like a preserve, actually.
Yeah, if you get caught hunting, it's a huge fine, and it's a big problem. And you don't want anybody on your property, so I wouldn't want people coming onto my property, and for whatever reason, I don't know where my kids are, so I wouldn't want somebody hunting there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't find any. I was looking for tracks all day, and I didn't find any deer tracks, and I didn't even find any deer dropping. Nothing, just nothing.
Okay,
it just doesn't make any sense. I was really focusing on tracking that day, and nothing. I mean, and like I said, this one trail that we came down, because I was trying to find the trail of least resistance to get up and down this mountain because, there was a lot of broken rocks and dangerous. So if you go down, you crack your head open. So I'm looking for the game trails. I'm following them, to get up, because that's how the animals are going to go up it. And I found this one coming down from up on top that was wide. It was like 3-4 feet wide. It's just ridiculous. I mean, What's that wide that would make that kind of a trail? I don't know, except for maybe a Sasquatch,
Maybe.
Yeah. And it's the area is very squatchy, very, very squatchy. Yeah.
Neat.
Yeah.
Well, guys,
Well, I hope we entertained you tonight.
You did very much so, as always. Always welcome back. So
thank you.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Sure.
That's great. We had a great time, and it's always nice to be back. And hopefully we won't get abducted, and we'll be back.
There you go.
Oh no, I'm like more concerned about the postal routes now.
Well, it gives new meaning to he's gone postal. So,
yeah, well, we deliver to every house in the country, so we go through some pretty sketchy neighborhoods,
Mm-hmm.
Hey, if they can deliver to Santa, they can deliver to Satan. So,
very.
I'm sure there's a couple of kids out there. Dear Satan.
Well,
who wants to field this?
Yes.
Well, thank you very much for having us. It was our pleasure.
Absolutely.
And
thank you for being
for
on.
taking the time.
Yeah, no, it was definitely our pleasure. We always enjoy coming on. We have a good time hanging out with you guys and shooting the breeze.
Mm-hmm. Right back at you.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Okay.
Everybody come back Sunday. We will have more scary type stories and possibly who knows what we'll have. We've got all kinds of things we're looking at.
Awesome.
All right.
Well,
good night, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Good night, everybody. Happy Halloween. Ciao.